they can just, Judy will let them in. So hi everybody, welcome to this beautiful Sunday afternoon. Thanks for taking some time out to share with us, ladies. I want to say hi to Eleanor, Freya, and Emmie. We're talking like serious girl power here for the month of March. Did you know that it is International Women's Month? We're celebrating girl power, okay? So I want you to know we are super pumped to have you guys play with us. So, welcome. I think everyone got like everyone got the bios of you guys, and I'm gonna presume everybody read it because I have no idea how to pronounce the more difficult Polish uh, competitions names. It's so scary for me, but it's good. It's good. So welcome. Let me get my questions up here. Well, first of all, I just want to say we'll start off with Eleanor because we're gonna go concert order, okay? Because Eleanor, you're actually playing first in the show. So um, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know there's the bio here, but is there something that you want to share with us that you're just dying to share with your fans here?
Um, sure. So I play the violin, obviously, and I study with Mrs. Almeida Vamos. This is
Hmm.
my fourth year with her, so that's been a huge privilege for me. And I do that through the Academy of the Music Institute of Chicago, where I'm a fellow there. And uh, that's also been a huge blessing. I get to play viola also in that organization in my chamber group, which is really fun to get to play something that isn't the melody sometimes. And yeah, I love playing music and giving that as a gift. I think I'm glad I didn't pick the harp back when I was choosing my second instrument other than piano because violin is more portable and I can take it more places easier. And I think that's proven to be a really valuable thing over the last few years as I've discovered what a gift classical music and music in general can be for people. So, yeah.
I would agree. I will also say that during the pandemic, um, people like us are the ones that other people are listening to. Do you know what I mean? So without the arts, you know, there wouldn't be anyone sitting at home watching Netflix or listen to the radio and stuff like that. Whereas we were the special ones. So, you're definitely special. So good for you. So let me ask you something about the viola versus the violin. Um, would you say that all the jokes kind of like ring true now?
I really enjoy making viola jokes and
Uh-huh,
violin jokes when I get them because I feel like I can now that I play viola and I do genuinely enjoy it. But
uh-huh.
the viola is a very special instrument as well. And I know a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
very talented and really smart violists. So there's nothing actually really true in the jokes. It's just fun to make them.
Oh yeah, of course. No, I totally get it. But admittedly, as you're playing your parts, um, it's easier, right?
It is. And I would say I maybe the only thing that is true is that there is so much more repertoire written for the violin. And so for solo violin. So
Sure.
while I like to play solo violin, there's so much, string quartet and piano quintet music that has viola written in as part of it that I enjoy playing it there, but I wouldn't want to play it as a solo instrument just because there are less pieces.
Sure. So let me ask you, would you consider doing like a quartet as a violist instead of the violin in there?
Yes, I actually have been in a string quartet for the last 2 years as the sole violist, and
Oh,
yeah,
how's
it's
that been working out for you?
it's actually wonderful. It's a little tricky on the days when I do a lot of viola to come back to violin and vice versa, but I really enjoy it, and I think there's a lot of balance.
Oh, is everybody muted? What's going on here? Okay. So, well, good for you, Eleanor. And I'm going to give you extra kudos for knowing how to read alto clef because let
Thank
me
you.
tell you, when I'm reading tenor clef, it just blows my mind, you know?
Battle for sure. But yeah, viola is just for chamber music really at this point for me, and I do enjoy playing it. But violin is it's definitely, I guess you could call it my first love.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Well, for sure. We're going to address that a little bit more later on. All right, Freya and Emmy, how are you guys doing today?
We're doing great. Very excited.
Me
Yeah,
too.
and now I think it's Emmy that's playing a recital later on after this, right?
No, I'm doing a recital.
Freya, sorry, I do that before. Sorry, I knew that earlier. So like, so how do you feel today multitasking, doing this, rock star interview first, and then like, oh, I got to go play now.
I feel like it just makes me excited because whenever I have something like a performance or a competition or something coming up, I always get like the butterflies in my stomach like before I go, and it's kind of like a combination of nervous and excited. But I'm really excited for this interview because it's just so cool because I've never imagined myself doing this. And for the recital afterwards, I'm also really excited for that. I'm not really that nervous whatsoever because it's just like a concert. It's 3 minutes, and if I mess up, it's like whatever. But if I do well, that's cool too because I'll just have fun, and it's not really. I'm not. I'm trying not to put like too much pressure on it because then I'll just
Sure.
yeah.
Is it your studio recital?
No, it's like but it's a winner's concert.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Okay. Well, so let me expand on that a little bit. So you just said that sometimes you're a little bit nervous performing, right? So since you and Emmy are playing together, for us as a duet, would you say you're less nervous because you're both sharing the spotlight, kind of?
Hmm. I feel like I mean playing I haven't done like a duet like this before. We did, but like not with an orchestra. So playing with an orchestra alone is already less. It's nice because having other people on the stage with you makes you feel like there's a group with you and we're all working together. So playing with Freya in with this amazing concerto is just such a nice feeling to practice and work together like this as a team.
Sure. And would you say it's even better because you guys are friends playing?
Yes, childhood besties.
Childhood besties. Actually, that was one of the questions I think I had asked or put in the pre-send. How did you guys meet? Did you meet in the studio?
I don't remember a period in my life where I've not known Emmy. I'm pretty sure we literally grew up together. Like when the earliest memory I have of my childhood probably has Emmy in it. Like when I was maybe like 3, and then she'd come over to our house and she'd be like screaming, and then because I've never not known her, so that's pretty much
Yeah, our
yeah.
moms were best friends already,
Oh,
and
okay.
they introduced us, and we could pretty much be sisters. We know so much about each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is awesome. That's nice too. I have to say, I have most of my friends because of orchestra, and it's a nice thing to have in common with someone. And then you can always laugh about other things too.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Let me ask a couple of other questions here. So I did read your bios, and it sounds like you guys definitely do a bunch of other things. So let's see. I'm going to stick with you guys, Freya and Emmy. One of the questions I had was, so you guys have been like besties for the longest time. You don't know what life was like without each other, right?
That's true.
And I'm assuming you do practice a lot, right? So, and obviously you do because we heard it at rehearsal last week. It was great. But what would you be doing right now if it wasn't practicing for the upcoming concert here?
If I wasn't practicing, I'd probably just feel like doing what I normally do in a given day, like exercising, like going outside in the nice weather, especially, or playing with my dog,
Oh my God,
or
do not.
playing, yeah, playing with my like
Or just sleeping. Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Sleeping's very underrated, that's for sure.
definitely.
Sleeping is underrated.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's crucial.
Sleeping is crucial.
Sleeping is crucial. Okay. Let's see. Freya, what would you say is your favorite part about being a musician?
There's so many. Everything about being a musician is so awesome. Like, there's so many because the studio for me is like my safe haven. It's like a special place. Like whenever I go to practice, I'm always like looking forward to it, especially because I've made some of my best friends through piano. Like my teacher, Miss Metz, like she's like a second mom to me, and all of my friends, like Emmy, obviously, like we've become really good friends because of doing piano together, and also like the opportunities not just about music but like I get to travel the world. Like I've been to
Yes.
like New York, and I've been to Osaka, and I've been to London, so that's cool too.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna give you extra kudos for saying that you like to practice because I don't. I really don't like to practice. But secondly, I think it's interesting that you say you've met a lot of your friends through piano because it's a very solo instrument. Do you know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
is it so it's just mostly through studio you would say that you met most of these friends then?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Very nice. Okay, so Elinor, I'm going to ask you a question because you are so good at what you do. We've seen it. Is there something that you're terrible at? Like just not good at?
There are a
And you
lot.
can admit it. It can be either music or, like obviously you're good at the music. So, but is there something that you're really bad at? And do you want to get better at it? Or you're just like, yeah, it's
There are
okay.
a lot of things actually that I'm very bad at. One of them is catching or throwing
Oh my
any
god,
kind of
that is
object.
so brilliant.
And I would love to be better at this. I really would because I am such a wet blanket anytime any normal people who aren't musicians do anything social at all. But I've always had a fear because I'm a musician of hurting my fingers while I'm trying
Oh,
get from where I am, which is zero, to to some place where I can, participate. And so that's been a bit of a barrier. I'll have to work on that.
no, no. We've heard you play. We don't want you to break your fingers. It's okay. you know because here, let me tell you, I actually ice skate. I do like ice skating a lot, right? But I'm petrified too because if I fall, it's not just it's terrible, right? Because your fingers are what we use, right? But for me it's double. If I fall, I'm not going to find anyone stupid enough to carry my bass. You know what I mean? So I don't ice skate very often, so I get it. It's totally fine. Let's see. Um, Elinor, if there's a show that you could go to right now, who would it be? And I'm asking you this a little bit tongue in cheek because girls, you guys are all so good at what we do, and the good part is we understand music, right? But the bad part is we are performing all the time. We are practicing all the time. So we actually don't get a chance often to go out and enjoy someone else's music, someone else's art. So Elinor, is there someone that you admire, someone that you would like to see more of?
Yes, I think last year one of the only concerts I got to see was Augustin Hadalick playing the Sibelius Violin Concerto. Uh,
That
and
guy is good.
I, I, whenever I watch, I would love to see him perform again because I can tell, having suffered through the technique practicing myself, when people have learned that so well that it seems like they could never unlearn it. And watching people like that play is really inspiring to me that it can be done, and that you can make music that touches people, even if you're just playing a little instrument. I
Yeah,
think.
and I know he was in an accident, right? Like a fire and all that stuff. Did that affect his fingers at all? I couldn't remember. Do you
I'm
know
not
about that?
I'm not quite sure what the exact, you know, what it
Hmm.
affected. So,
Okay, yeah, no, but I just know he's an amazing, amazing musician, you know. How about you, Freya and Emmy? Is there someone that you admire in particular that you want to
I
see?
guess um there's a like Australian violinist duo called Two Set Violin. I would love to go to one of their shows because
Those guys are hilarious, aren't they?
I like admire them a lot, and I'd love to go to one of their shows because not only are they like hilarious, but they're also kind of like making classical music kind of like more exposed to like the younger generation, which I think is really cool. And also, they're very talented musicians, so it's like a win-win situation.
Yes, you cannot shtick does not work unless you actually have the street cred behind you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So so no, they actually can play. You know, actually it's funny because Eleanor, they did so when you say that you're playing viola right now, there was one two set where they did like a half hour of playing the second violin part. I think of the Blue Danube, and they just committed. They just played the whole thing, and you're like, but it was quite entertaining, quite entertaining. Um, Here, let me. I saw that Richard wrote a little bit a question here, and let's see how do you balance preparing for a specific performance with an organic approach to your instrument that covers all facets of your musicianship and instrument? Now, actually, I'm going to ask that to Eleanor first because I'm actually a little bit curious about this. So as we all know, everybody knows Carmen. Everybody knows Carmen, right? But but I should say everyone thinks they know Carmen, so they just presume certain things about it. Do you feel like that's a little bit of a struggle when you like when you were with us for rehearsal? What did you feel for that? Do you know what I mean? Like I've played the opera, and it doesn't feel like 4 hours because everyone knows the tune, right? But it's 4 hours. It's, no one realizes that Carmen's 4 hours, right? But you don't feel it because you know the music, and so how do you think about that? Like how are you preparing for the Sarasat coming up?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of different ways to answer this question. I should preface it with I'm still figuring out. I definitely have not figured out the golden rule for practicing and performing yet. Far from it, actually. I'd say that Carmen is a really this piece is a really fantastic piece. It's really difficult, and so there are a few things that have made it possible for me to do. For example, my college auditions I've been doing for the last several months, and also to prepare this piece, which actually wasn't on my repertoire list for any of the auditions. And one of those is time. I started this piece a really long time ago in all of my other repertoire. And so I've just had the time to be able to spread things out and to work on uh, a little bit of them at a time and to reach different, like very small horizontal levels of the whole piece um, over an extended period of time. And that's something that works for some people and doesn't work for other people. Some people can't find a one piece interesting for more than 6 months. And I've been playing some of my pieces for probably almost 2 years. Some of them just over a year, some of them over 2 years. Some of them a little less. But and coming back to them as well. So that's one thing that I think is really important. And the other thing would be loving the music and having some kind of inspiration to practice things and to practice the musicality. I often get caught up in technique and just want to, fix the technical things, but nobody, you can get a robot to do that. You can program a recording and you can hear that. So to practice the musicality so that that comes through in performance too is something that's more inspiring sometimes than technique and also helps me push through with preparing for performance.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Freya and Emmy, what do you think too? How do you guys approach, especially because you guys are doing the duet coming up now, right? How are you approaching it? Um, because you have to be feeding off of each other for the musicianship, and the feeling of it.
So like um for every movement, it's like a different kind of energy that you have to be able to flow. Like the difference between movement 3 and movement 2. Movement 2 is much more calm and mature. Movement 3 is more high energy. Well, for practicing, we have to first get the technique straight, and make sure that there are no like hiccups or stopping issues. But after that comes the difficult part, which is connecting with each other and making sure we like the details in the music, especially the dynamics, are what makes it human and what makes it very interesting and inspiring to hear. And the connecting with each other, it's been like a little bit of a challenge, you could say, but it's fun to do. So practicing like that has been nice.
Well, here's the thing, you guys are friends, do you ever look at each other, you're just like, that doesn't sound good?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
we do that
so
all the time.
often.
Yeah. Like sometimes we'll just kind of like it's so fun because sometimes when we're playing we'll just like have a moment when we look at each other and it's funny and then we're all trying to like hold back laughs and it's kind of like the joy of music you could say.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah. I can tell you that being part of my section, it's fun because we all get along, but that doesn't mean I don't want things to not sound good. So if I hear something funny, I'm definitely like,
Yeah.
you know, but the thing is everyone is very aware of it. And so it's good. So if you have that musicality going, then you're just always aware of it. And that's it's good. You should be conscientious of it. So we have another question here. We've got two questions. I'll start first with, what piece would you love to play someday? So, Emmie, what would you love to play one day? I mean, I know you girls are friends, but you're gonna want to do a solo one of these days here by yourself. So, what would you love to play one day?
I mean, I would love to play like a very advanced or difficult piece that will impress or surprise that the people around me or inspire. I feel like playing any complicated or advanced piece it'll be fun to learn. It'll be very like it'll be the motivation of getting the piece done at the end will be amazing, and especially like the feeling of the feeling of the playing it over and over again. It will be nice to do it with a piece that I enjoy like that. So
Oh, I'm looking at your bio here. Is there a particular composer that's kind of interesting to you? Like when you think about it, like Liszt and Rachmaninoff were piano people themselves. Do you know what I mean? So, because I think about that all the time, um, like who's I don't think Tchaikovsky was a pianist in particular, but that's a great concerto. You know what I mean? But Liszt had ginormous hands, so he
yes,
he wrote kind of appropriately because he could do it. Do you know what I mean? So that kind of stuff. So do you have a favorite composer that you think you might want to tackle?
Liszt. La Campanella is such a nice piece. It's the same like tune, like the melody of it is the same throughout all the sections, but it's very difficult to play, especially since it requires a lot of
Oh
octaves.
yeah. Campanella is incredible for any instrument, not just piano,
Right.
So there you go, Elinor. That's gonna be your next one too, okay? So uh so Freya, how about you? Is there a particular piece that would interest you one day?
Um, Rush E.
Wait, what?
Rush E. It's no, but it's like serious. I love to play like a modern like jazz piece because
I don't have much experience with jazz. Like I did one piece by Kakusin, and that's probably my favorite piece I've ever played because I just felt so confident playing it and like the vibes I got because it was so like energetic and happy, and every time I played it I always helped like I always by the end of the song I always just felt so happy, and I felt super cool playing it. So like I'd love to learn like a more modern like jazz piece.
That's incredible. I'm not gonna lie, I never feel cool after playing music. I'm always a little wrapped up in in the music. Do you know what I mean? People are like, "Do you enjoy playing that?" I'm like, "I'm not sure. I'm thinking too much about it. You know, was I in tune? Did everything go well?" So I'm glad to hear that you enjoy it. So that's a good thing, you know. Um, so when you're talking about modern music, I mean, the only jazz piece I can think of offhand, of course, is Gershwin. You know, the Rhapsody in Blue, and and I've played it many times with a lot of people, but it always sounds a little too square, you know. So maybe if you approach that next time, you know, you can just give it a whirl and be open with that. So, okay, Eleanor, how about you? Is there a piece? Is there some other difficult piece you'd like to tackle? Because that Sarasat's pretty hard, you know.
Um, I mean, I would like to play as much repertoire as I can. I wouldn't say there's a particular piece that I want to play more than all the rest, uh, just because usually, even I'm a little iffy about a piece when I first start learning it, by the end of it, I'm like, wow, this is an amazing composer. This is my new
There's
favorite composer.
there's so much though for the violin though, like you said. So
And I'll think, wow, this is an amazing piece. How could I not have appreciated it? Its full value when I was first learning it. And so most of the pieces that I learn, I feel like I enjoy it a lot just by the process of learning them and learning about the composer and what he or she was thinking about. I've gotten to play a little bit of kind of fiddly violin.
oh,
It's kind of
okay.
classical fied fiddle music,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
little bit, more structured and stuff, and that was really fun. I think it's also fun for people when they go to classical music concerts to hear something that sounds different to them immediately and changes thing up a little bit. So I think some more music like that I would like to learn, and yeah.
Definitely, definitely. But it's going to be like what I said before. When you have a certain sound to you, it always translates over to else something else. Like when they had all those opera singers sing West Side Story a long time ago, just didn't quite translate over. You know, I mean, it was good. It was perfectly in tune, but didn't quite work. I didn't think it worked. You know. So Cheryl has a great question, which is something I'm going to do from now on too. How much do you practice every day? And do you have a practice routine? So, Eleanor, actually, all of you. So, let me tell you my little secret. You know, a long time ago, YouTube did not exist. So, if I wanted to hear music, I had to get a recording of it somehow and not be sure of it. And so, part of how I practice is if there's something coming up in orchestra, I like to put it on YouTube just to refresh my memory and be like, oh, okay, this is what it sounds like. And then that's how I start my practice regimen, you know. So how much would you say you practice every day? Do you have a routine? And in particular, because all of you are about to perform something, you know what I mean? So I'm assuming the practicing is a little bit more intense now than if you were just practicing just because, you know. So Eleanor, what do you think? What do you I know you must practice every day, especially because you're going to college soon, aren't you? So
I
you're doing like the audition circuit and stuff, right?
Yes, yes. So for the goal for me for violin is 4 hours a day, and that will. I also do still play violin, piano, so those I don't always practice every day just because that's a lot. But so that's the goal for violin for me. The routine does change depending on how I'm growing as a musician at this point, honestly, and and what concerts are coming up. But one thing that for whatever reason, this is going to sound very strange, I really love practicing with the metronome, and I will do, if I can get in the zone, working things up with the metronome from 30 equals a eighth note, even to whatever speed it needs to go. If it takes hours, that's one thing that really helps me, and so that's a routine that I try to do as much as possible because it's relatively enjoyable for me, and it's very effective too. So.
Oh yeah, rhythm's the most important thing. I can tell you that as a bass player. I will actually let intonation slide as long as the rhythm is right there. So, Emmie and Freya, what about you guys? What do you have a particular practice routine? You know, and
For like,
actually, must have to coordinate it, especially now because it's both of you two together. So,
uh, so so ever since we were little, we've always done a warm up basically. So like Hanon scale,
Yeah.
just
oh,
every day.
Hannon, I
You
remember
always start,
those.
yeah, you always start with the
Yeah,
Hanon
yeah, the
and the
hand.
scales
Yes.
and arpeggios and staccato. It's like,
We've had nice arguments about whether to start with Hannons or to start with scales.
yeah, like
We've had debates on whether it's correct to start technique with Hannons or scales.
so first we start with warm up. That way our hands just get like warm, like literally just warmed up our hands, and so they can play fast things. And so based for practice hours,
Wait, let me. For practice hours, I'd say it's about. First of all, it's about quality and not about quantity. Because if you're practicing, but like your brain's like you're just autopiloting, it's gonna be worthless. Even if you're doing that for like 4 hours. But if you're really putting your like heart and soul into it, then that's really gonna. It's really more meaningful and it's helpful. But I'd say like the two of us, we rehearsed the Mozart Concerto about like maybe 3, 4-ish hours on the weekends and Friday. But on my own for solos, I practice like maybe like 2 to 3 hours a day.
same with me.
Yeah.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, you guys are good. You're making us adults rethink out what we got to do too. You know, good for you. You know, I'm gonna say too for the Mozart, it's it can be interesting, right? Because Mozart, if you just play it at face value, it's fairly, it's just straightforward, right? But like you said, if you put a little bit more thought into it, a little bit more quality, it really it can be more. You know what I mean? So,
Because sometimes while we practice, like I try to think of like a story in my mind, because that makes it just like a bajillion times more fun to practice when you're envisioning the story in your mind, like the different colors and shapes and like the loud, soft, and dynamic. So it kind of like when I like for the second movement, it's more like mature. It kind of like it gives me like forest or like the ocean or whatever. So
oh,
sometimes it helps me to like have a visualization in my head. It makes it more a lot more interesting to practice too.
absolutely, absolutely. Eleanor, would you say that that's what you're thinking of when you're doing the Sarasat? Are you thinking about Carmen and how she's working hard in a cigar factory with two boyfriends who want her?
Um, I have to think about a lot of things. I do try to think about Carmen as much as possible because obviously, uh, that's what the opera was originally about. And I think it's actually really nice to have that background for a piece where you have a story that has been written out because so often you have to kind of make it up for yourself and patch it together, and it's not going to be as good as a genius who wrote a story and you know put it to music. So yeah,
That's
definitely.
true. That's right. You're right because the composers write something and it's up to us to interpret it, and now we're talking hundreds of years past, when anyone else did it, like for sure Mozart, but when was the Sarasat written? I'm sorry, I don't remember when that was done. Let me Google that right now.
I
1883.
Late 19th century.
Yeah, late 19th.
1883, Christina.
Oh, really? The Carmen Fantasy was written in 1883? Wow. Oh my gosh, it was.
I just did the program notes. That's how I knew.
Wow. It's amazing how old this music is, and it's still like relevant. It's beautiful. Oh, okay. Well, ladies, I don't know if I have anything else to ask in particular. I mean, I have this. Oh, here we go. This is what I want to know too, even for myself. All right. Do you have a process for dealing with performance anxiety? And do you follow a process or ritual to get rid of nerves? You know, and and like for Elinor, this is just her, you know. But Freya, Emmie, you guys have each other kind of, so you can kind of diffuse
Yeah.
it a little bit, but that doesn't mean you don't play by yourself sometimes. So, Eleanor, what do you do if for your performance anxiety aside from just keeping on playing because you've had so many auditions, you know? So this is like old hat for you.
Right. Definitely getting into a performance environment as often as possible helps. And what I end up doing a lot of different things. I pray and I'll take deep breaths and having one of my parents around is very helpful actually to me. And sometimes, sometimes I have to go with silly songs and dancing just to have a little moment before the performance. But a lot of the time, it's just remembering, what the performance is for. I don't. One performance is not going to do. It's not going to, write my name on marble monuments, for the ages to see or anything. And the real goal of a performance, I mean, it depends on the one. Obviously, some auditions are a little different, but uh, is to bless people with some music and to give them something of yourself and to give them a gift. And so when I remember that, I can remember, well, I still have me, no matter what happens, and so I can try to give some of that when I'm performing, and that does help.
I like that, and I'm glad we recorded that because I'm going to steal that and spread that around. Emmy, Freya, what about you? Do you guys have a ritual to get rid of your nerves?
Probably like before, like sometimes if one of us is nervous, we try to like calm each other down because when you're nervous and like riled up or you're like very anxious, it kind of affects your performance. But I try to do like, positive self-talk, like tell myself that everything's gonna be okay. And then like sometimes I just like I need to keep my hands warm also before I perform because oh my god, like performing with cold hands is literally like my
Oh
worst nightmare.
yeah. Do you guys,
And
so do all of you keep like those fingerless gloves in your cases and stuff? Well, not you, not the pianos. Eleanor probably does, right? But do you keep fingerless gloves sometimes? Do you play with the fingerless gloves, you know?
and I just like do this and like
You
try to
just
work. Yeah,
that okay.
yes, just like aggressively rub my hands. I feel like for me, I don't I feel like before getting on the stage, I just feel numb. I don't feel nervous, but it's only when I sit on the bench that I start to panic or in tear, which is even more stressful, I would say, because you don't eat, there's nothing there for you. You can't drink water or do this. You have to sit there and just stare at the keys. So what I do is I look around like at the people like in my line of sight and I say to myself, they're here to watch me. Okay. I just pretend I just like say to myself that I'm arrogant and I say that I can do this. I got this. I
Yeah.
have this in the bag and then I end up playing outstanding. That's what I was doing through every single one of my concerts or competitions. That's just what I do.
I think that is a good, I'm going to steal that one too. Okay. We're special. We're special and we have something we can share with the world. Because it's true, you guys. We do have this gift of being musicians and we essentially can read another language and interpret it for for the world to understand, you know, and enjoy. So so thank you. I does anyone else have any other questions? Do you girls, do you guys want to share anything else with me? With us? No? Do you want like some suggestions you want to share about rehearsal? We can do that offline, you know, if you want to do that.
Yeah, I've got a question.
Go ahead, David.
I was going to ask Elinor. So Elinor is also a pianist. And I wondered how much time you're able to spend on the piano and how you feel studying the piano helps you at the violin.
Oh boy. Um, I hope I hope this doesn't get around to my piano team. I'm just kidding. I love playing the piano, and I started that first. So I started that when I was 3 years old. So it's almost been 15 years, and because of that, uh, I think I'm able to keep up a higher level of piano playing with less practice than I would have been if I had if I had started later. Uh, Obviously violin is my primary instrument, and I don't get to practice pianos and play it at as high of a level as I would like to. Um, but for that, I've cut down on the quantity of pieces that I prepare, and I try to prepare fewer of them and take my time with them and learn them well, and so they can be just as loved um, by me when I just play less of them at a time. And yeah, so piano I try to do every day. I do it most days. When I come home from the academy on Saturdays, which is an all-day program, I'll get home around 8 o'clock. Leave about 8 o'clock, get home around 8. There's not generally time to do two instruments and still keep sanity. So sometimes I can't do it on those days, and that's okay because it's still an instrument that I love and that I like to play. In terms of playing violin, it really helps me to understand harmony, to be able to play the piano and to read through the piano reductions of my scores and stuff. Um, and I love learning music theory. I had no idea there was such a big world of music theory, but it's just a joy to learn all of those things and to help them.
I'm really glad you brought that up because I mean I played with a lot of string players over the years. I played a lot of chamber music, and I've had some string players say to me, I'm really glad I learned the piano because then I'm not just playing one line of this chamber music. I understand the whole thing. And in fact, they'll even comment, well, you pianists have the whole score in front of you, and we just have one line. But because I'm a pianist, I've looked at the whole score. And, I really like to hear that because sometimes some of the string players, they're just playing their part. And I kind of wonder how much they understand really about what actually was written by the composer.
They don't. They're very myopic. I would say that. I here a quick story. I did play cello once. I don't know why, but I played cello in an orchestra tour once, and it was weird because I sat co-principal, and I only felt that little. Eleanor will know this. You only feel that one little quartet kind of feeling, and everyone else is just kind of behind me. And I felt so strange because I'm used to sitting up on by the bass and watching everyone and hearing everything. But when I sat up in front, I could only hear what was going on right in front of me, and only concentrating on my one line versus like seeing the whole thing. So David, I would agree too. I'm also a pianist, and I'll talk about those days. I had to give that up. Just like Mozart said, or Salieri, too many notes. And it's harder. It's actually easier to play the single line, right? But I would say being a pianist also has taught me uh, to be able to hear those harmonies and understand them. And reading scores too. I know it's kind of nerdy, but I like to read the scores as I'm listening to recordings. Like Freya and Emmie, I'm sure you were doing that too, right? Because you were saying that you were listening a lot to the recording before you got to the orchestra. Then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, this is different, you know? So good, great. Okay, anybody else has any other questions or comments? Freya, you still seem kind of calm for somebody who's going to be performing again in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm just try to stay calm and everything's gonna be okay. It's okay.
Everybody, you'll be great.
Maybe before we sign off, we should all just give our big smile and have a screenshot.
Yeah, I like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
And
I'll
Kris,
give you some
did you
advice.
see Richard's comment?
Yes, I did. And absolutely. We all admire you guys. Believe me, we are when we're listening to you guys at rehearsal, we were blown away. So we can't wait to have you again this Wednesday. So, all right, I'm going to give you a little bit of advice from Oprah before we smile. You don't say cheese, you go, yay, yay.
Hey,
Otherwise, you
Wendy,
just look.
Wendy,
if you say
wasn't there a student next to you? Wendy, was there?
That was my daughter.
Can she
Yeah,
come back
that was
for
my
the picture?
daughter, but she had to leave.
Okay. Okay, what are we gonna say then?
we're going to say yay.
No, unfortunately, she's already gone.
Ready? Yay.
All right.
Thank you, though.
Yay.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
I got it.
Okay. Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you everyone for spending a little time here. I don't have any other closing arguments or statements. Arguments. Sorry, my cousin's a paralegal. Sorry. But thanks for calling in and telling us a little bit about your thought process and how it all works. And like I said, as some of the grown-ups here, I'm gonna take some of your advice to heart too, you know, because we all were you guys at one point, and it's good to be reminded of what we got to do to keep this music up, you know. So, but we look forward to seeing you guys again on Wednesday. Okay, this will be fun.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, kids.
Yeah, and break a
And
leg,
adult kids.
Freya.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye. Thank you.
Sure. Bye.
Thanks.
Okay. So Judy, you can stop recording if you
Wait,
want.
yeah. Then
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to the